Next is the UMTS architecture. UMTS, it is Universal Mobile Telecommunication Standard. This is the architecture of the UMTS. In that, three main systems are useful. That is, first is the UE, that is user equipment. Next is the UMTS terrestrial radio access network, and third is the core network. First is the user equipment. It is subdivided between user equipment and the SIM, same as that of the GSM system. It is assigned to the single user. User equipment, it is assigned for the single user. It comprises of all the functions which are needed to access the UMTS network. Means user equipment, it is a single for the single device and it performs different functions needed for the UMTS network. The SIM is present here, performs the functions like encryption and authentication of users. It stores all the user related data for the UMTS network. User equipment performs the single quality measurements, power control up to some extent, spreading and modulation and rate matching functions. User equipment also takes part the radio resource allocation and process. It also has to take care of mobility management functions. These are the different functions related to the user equipment. Okay. So user equipment, it is assigned for single users. It performs all the functions related to the UMTS network. SIM is present here and it performs encryption authentications of the users. It stores all the user related data in the UMTS network. User equipment performs a single quality measurement, power controls, modulation functions. Also it takes the part in radio resource allocation progress and it take care of the mobility management functions. Next is the UMTS terrestrial radio access network. It comprises of several RNS, means radio network subsystems, and each RNS is controlled by RNCs, that is radio network controller. Means the UMTS terrestrial radio access network, it consists with the several RNS, that is radio network subsystems, and each RNS is controlled by the RNCs, that is radio network controller. It is also comprises of several components called as node B. The RNS comprises of node B and RNCs. RNCs means radio network controller. First is the node B. Radio cell is controlled by node B. User equipment is connected with one or more antennas. Node B also take care of the handover required. And next is the RNCs, that is radio network controller. The radio network controller is connected to the CN, that is core network, with the air interface IU. It is connected to the node B via air interface IUB. Okay. RNCs, it is connected to the core networks by using the air interface, it is called as IU, and it is connected to the node B by using the air interface, it is called as a IUB. Two RNCs are interconnected with the radio interface IUR. The different functions performed by using the RNCs. First is the call admission control. Next is the congestion control, encryption and decryption, and multiplexing of signal and protocol conservations, radio resource management. These different functions are performed by using the RNCs. First is the call admission control. The RNC calculates the traffic intensity. It then decides whether to accept the call or not. Means First it checks the traffic related to the calling and then it is decide to accept this call or not. Next is the congestion control. The RNC allocates bandwidth to each node in the network in cyclic fashion. It also regulates the quality of service. For the congestion control purpose, RNC allocates to the bandwidth of each node in the network. Next is the encryption and decryption. RNC encrypts the data incoming from fixed network before transmission and decrypts the data before detection. So encryption and decryption it is performed by using the RNCs. Before transmission data is encrypted and before detection data is decrypted. Next is the multiplexing of signal and protocol conversion. The interconnection between RNCs, node Bs and the control network has to be switched to multiplex the various data streams. Next is the radio resource management. The RNC control all the radio resources. It is done considering priorities. These are the functions related to the RNCs. Next is the core network. The core network is divided into two parts, that is CSD and PSD. CSD means circuit switched domain and packet switched domain. First is the circuit switched domain. The circuit switched domain is consists of circuit switching services like signaling. It has the same blocks as that of the GSM architecture like MSCs, HLR and VLR, and they have the same functions also. Okay, so CSD, that is circuit switched domain, is circuit switched service provides like signaling, and it is similar to the GSM architecture, or blocks are also similar to the GSM architectures like MSCs, HLR and VLR, and they perform same functions like GSM architecture. The CSD is connected to the RNS via IU interface and it is also known as IUCS. So CSD, it is connected to the RNS by using the interfacing IU and it is known as IUCS. Next is the packet switched domain. It is the part of GPRS network. The GPRS networks SGSN, that is servicing GPRS support network, and GGSN, that is gateway GPRS support network, are present. Means the packet switched domain, it is similar with the GPRS network and it is consist with the SGSN and GGSN. SGSN means servicing GPRS support node and GGSN means gateway GPRS support node. These are capable of handling packetized data, and SGSN has the same task that of the MSC. Means it is similar function performed like the MSCs. The SGSN and GGSNs are interconnected to the RNS via IU interface and it is known as IUPS. Means SGSN and GGSNs are connected to the RNCs by using the interface, that is IU interface, and it is called as, or it is known as the IUPS. Both HLR used for the location updating, VLR it is useful for the roaming, and AUC it is useful for the authentication purpose. Okay, these are the different functions related to the UMTS.